The reason we haven't understood this before is that we have had our self and some other self. And so we have felt that there could be something about ourselves which wasn't the something about our brother's self. And so we treated our brother differently than we treated ourselves, or we treated ourselves differently than we treated our brother, only because of the belief of two selves. Now, the reason the Master's teaching has not been more widely understood and followed, and the reason that it's rebelled against, we know all this about the other fellow self, and we see how he's violating it. That's what makes us good preachers. We don't realize that there's only one self, and the one self that's doing the preaching, the condemning, the praising, is the self that's being condemned or praised. Therein lies this entire mystery. You don't think for a moment, do you, that there'd be anybody out in the world harming another, physically, mentally, morally, or financially, if he really knew it was himself that he's doing it to? Of course not. Now, who believes that yourself is myself? Who believes that myself is yourself? Nobody on the face of the earth. Yet that is what the Master was trying to tell us. God is your Father and my Father, therefore we be brethren. Not separate people. We are members of one household. What are you going to do? Hurt the room over in that wing and leave all the rest of the house intact? It can't be done. If you harm the room in that wing, you hurt the whole household. If you harm a child or a servant, you harm the whole household. Because a household isn't a separate thing. It's not a thing made up of component parts. A household is one thing made up of love. And when you violate any part of love in that household, you have violated the household. And that household, you are. What is the city of God? You are. Divine consciousness. When you violate that, you violate yourself. That is why cosmic law is not known. That is why the teaching of the Master is not known. We believe that it applies to somebody else. We read that New Testament as if Jesus were talking about somebody down the street. And all the time he's talking about the one self, the one household of God, the one universal being, your Father and my Father, the temple of the living God. How many temples has God got? One. And yet he said your body is the temple of the living God. So you think you've got a body and I've got a body and you can violate mine or I can violate yours? Sure, it's possible, but not without violating ourselves, because there is only one self. You didn't tell me I can harm your pocketbook without harming mine? How many pocketbooks are there? One. I can take your land without taking mine. Go up in an airplane and look down at the stupidity of all those fences around houses. And then stop to think that somebody down there really believes they own that property. And look a little further down the street till you come to the cemetery. And then you'll find out they don't own it. May seem to today, but that place is waiting down there. You know what we said here in classes before? There's a probate court waiting at the end of everybody's life. You've got to give it up. It doesn't belong to you. It doesn't belong to me. It belongs to the one self. Now remember, no one can hurt you. Your own attitude toward life may hurt you or benefit you. Nobody else can do it for you. It is possible that on life's highway, we can be of a temporary help to each other. My bringing this to your attention today may make me an instrument of bringing good into your life for this hour. But I can't bring it in an hour from now. An hour from now, you're your own. When I first came to the city of Seattle, our good friend over here, Netta Holmes, was the instrument through which all of this work has opened. But that's the limit of what Netta Holmes could do for me. From there on, the demonstration was the demonstration of Joel Goldsmith in the infinite way. He could have made them or broken them at any time, and Netta Holmes couldn't have saved them. No matter how much she loved them, she couldn't have saved them. She could just be an instrument at that moment. And I can't save you, and you can't save me. I can merely be an instrument this moment of bringing to you the awareness of your own being. After that, you make or break yourself. No use saying years later, oh, you made my life. I did not. You made it with what you did, with the understanding that was given to you, the knowledge that was brought to you, what you did with it. Because if you were to say years later, oh, you made my life, how about those who don't listen to me today and then come and say, oh, you broke my life, or somebody else did down the street? Neither of those things is true. We can be instruments for each other. That is the function of spiritual teachers. It's not an accident that they call Jesus the way shower. That's all he is, the way shower. He shows you the way and lifts you to some degree of apprehension of it, and then says to you, if I go not away, the Comforter cannot come to you. In other words, you're on your own. So it has been, every city where I have been with the message of the infinite way, there has been some good soul ready to recognize and appreciate the message of the infinite way and to give it an opportunity to be presented to people. But what happened afterward, for good or evil, had nothing to do with the individual who gave that way. They fulfilled their part when they opened their doors to it. After that, the infinite way had to fulfill itself in your experience, or by now you would have forgotten it and said, yeah, I remember that fellow who was through here 6 years ago. Do you see that? The infinite way must fulfill itself and stand on its principle. So must you. So must you. You have a principle of life. The principle of life is that there is but one self. One I am, and I am that I am. There is one I am, and I am that I am. I am that. Yes, but I am that, whether I am here, there, or the other place. So every time I visit the sick, the needy, feed the hungry, I'm doing it unto myself. And any time I injure another, knowingly or unknowingly, because remember, ignorance is no excuse. You've paid the same penalty for a wrong that's done in ignorance as for one that's done right. In the human scale, a judge may forgive you for your ignorance or put you on probation, but in the spiritual scale, there's no probation. You pay. You pay for every deviation from your own ability to perceive spiritually. It's a hard law. Hard law. The master called it, oh, didn't they say to him, Master, Master, that's a hard saying? Yeah. It is a hard saying. There's no deviation. None. You stand or fall by the degree of your spiritual integrity. What is your spiritual integrity? Your realization of one self, one life, one mind, one soul, one spirit, one being. Now, that naturally leads up to probably the most difficult thing to understand. I'm sure you know that all metaphysics has as its basis the desire and possibility of turning sickness into health, sin into purity, poverty into abundance. But at this level of life, it won't work. At this cosmic level of life, it won't work. You don't turn to God for supply or for help. At this point of life, you're apt to say to yourself, why am I so desperately trying, either humanly or spiritually, to demonstrate supply as if it was something good when I've seen all the misery it's brought to so many? Or you're apt to say to yourself, why am I giving so much attention to demonstrating health when I've seen lots of healthy people who are as unhappy as I am, or more so? And you begin to perceive that you've been on the wrong track. Now, seeking health and seeking supply were all right. So was playing with dolls when you were little children. It wouldn't be considered good to be seen playing with dolls at this age. In this spiritual age, we have no right to be playing with health or with supply. We've outgrown those. A lot of supply might be just as bad as too little supply. A lot of health might get us into more trouble than a lot of sickness. Our demonstration isn't now for supply or for health or for companionship. Our demonstration now is a realization of Christhood. When you give up the desire for supply, you'll have infinite riches, even on the human plane. The minute you stop chasing supply, it'll chase you. It has never failed. The minute you give up the struggle for health, health will overtake you. Never as long as you're chasing it. Why? Because you're chasing it as if it were somewhere ahead of you, and it isn't there. You're chasing a shadow. Health isn't a condition of body. Wealth is not a condition of your bank account. Health and wealth are states of divine consciousness, omnipresent, just as omnipresent as integrity. Now, if you feel tempted to give yourself a treatment to be more honest, then keep on giving yourself a treatment for more health or more wealth. But if you think that you've arrived at the state of integrity or honesty, then agree that you've arrived at the state of health and wealth, because they're all part of the same thing. Why callest thou me good? There is but one good, the Father in heaven. So I'm not going to pray to be made good. Well, then why callest thou me healthy or rich, when these belong to God? The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. Health belongs to God. Wholeness, completeness, intactness, perfection. They're not absent from God, the one self, are they? Well, have you any other self? Well, then what are you struggling for health and supply for? Let them be made manifest. Let them be revealed in you and through you as your integrity is. Don't chase them. They're not something separate and apart from you. That which you are chasing are but the shadows, the symbol of health and supply. And when you get them, they'll be dust in your hand. You can have the healthiest physical body in the world today, but tomorrow it's a day older. But if you have the realization of Christhood, you can neither age, change, get sick, poor, or die. I have never seen the righteous begging bread. Oh, but you have, huh? No, you haven't understood what the word righteous means. The righteous means those who are right with God, one with the Father, consciously one with the Father. The righteous aren't those who go around doing a lot of good acts or thinking a lot of good thoughts. The good acts could become bad tomorrow, and the right thoughts could become wrong tomorrow. But the righteous are those who are living in accord with spiritual integrity, those who acknowledge God to be their selfhood. Not their selfhood alone, but the selfhood of individual you and me. Now those who live in the conscious realization of God as individual selfhood are not begging bread, nor will they be sick for very long, or poor for very long, or sinful for very long. The righteous will never be outside the realm of God's kingdom. But the righteous are those who are right with God. And that means one with God, in the God realization and consciousness, and the realization or consciousness of God as your individual being and of mine. No one is righteous who sees a selfhood apart from God. No one is righteous who sees youth and age, health and sickness, wealth and poverty, saintliness and sinfulness. Nobody is righteous. They may be humanly good or humanly bad, that part's fine. But that's not righteousness. Righteousness is rightness in and of and through and with God. One, consciously one with God. If I see God to be your being, your life, your selfhood, and treat you accordingly, I am then righteous. But the moment I deviate from that and bear witness to a selfhood apart from God, I am unrighteous. Could be then that I'll beg bread or beg for health. Now at this advanced stage of our unfoldment, I ask you please, do not go out in the street and tell your patient, your friend, your neighbor, your fellow student in the center, don't tell him he shouldn't be seeking his health. He won't like you. Don't tell him not that he shouldn't seek supply. You say, you see, you don't understand. You have to be very much like the man who took his friend to a testimonial meeting because his friend was suffering from tuberculosis, and he thought if he came to truth, why, he could get healed. And sure enough, they went to this meeting, and a testimony was given by someone who was healed of a belief of tuberculosis. And when they went out, the friend said, you see, there's your answer. There was somebody. Oh, no. They weren't healed of tuberculosis. It was a belief of tuberculosis. No, but I have it. And that's what your friend down the street is apt to say to you. Oh, you don't understand. I must meet my rent Saturday, and I expect through God that it will be met. Or I'm sick, and I expect through God it will be met. So don't use the language of this work when you are working on the plane of those seeking light. Give milk to the babes. Give meat. If I wanted to give this message to 400 here, I could have written, and our good friend Netta would have had 400 all lined up at the center for me. But I couldn't see myself standing on a platform and saying this to 400 people. That you mustn't seek health and you mustn't seek supply. I know what they would have said. Oh, you don't understand. In the same way, I wouldn't expect them to understand when I say that the harm you do another, the evil you think of another, you're thinking of yourself and doing to yourself, because they haven't yet risen above the need for telling the truth. And the telling the truth means if they see their neighbor stealing a wallet, they must call him a thief. Now, There's a discipline. You won't go out of here feeling that you have yet apprehended this message, but you can at least say that whereas before I was blind, at least I see now in what direction I'm to go, forgetting those things which are behind me. I'm going to look forward with discipline so that I keep my conversation in heaven at all times. In other words, I live and move and have my being as if God were my selfhood and the selfhood of every individual, so that whatever I'm thinking in secret, I'm going to be willing to see aired on the wash line in public. It's going to be so whether I like it or not. That which God seeth in secret, he rewardeth openly, and vice versa. We have to so conduct ourselves. I've said this in a class. We have to be saints inside and just a common man and woman on the outside. Outwardly, we keep our language, the language of the man in the streets, but inwardly, we have to live our lives as saints. Why? Because we know that we're being measured by our thoughts and deeds, rewarded and punished by what's going on inside of us. Why do you think the Master said that you must not do your benevolences in public? The reason is this. He knew you wouldn't get a reward from it. Because man whose breath is in his nostril might temporarily thank you or say how good you are, but behind your back they'll wonder why you're doing it and be envious of your ability to do it very often. Whereas in the case of a woman who came to me recently who had been in the hands of a psychiatrist, and this woman was known as a very, very generous woman. She loved to take her books and share them with people and give them away, and her art treasures and money and about everything. She was just known in the whole city as a very public-spirited woman of fine blood. And her psychiatrist told her, of course, the reason you do that is that you're a very evil woman and you're covering it up. And so you see, the good you do can be evilly spoken of. And so to do your benevolences in public is apt to bring you a little human praise and a little human condemnation. But the benevolences that you do in secret, you're not doing for man whose breath is in his nostril or his praise. You're doing for God and for God's children. And the God that seeth that in secret rewardeth thee openly. Never forget that every benevolence done unbeknownst to man is rewarded. Not when it's done for the sake of the reward, when it's done for the sake of service to God and man. On the other hand, the Master cautions you not to pray in public. Did you ever stop to realize the significance of his statement that no longer shall you pray in this holy mountain nor yet in Jerusalem? And then elsewhere he says, do not pray where you can be seen of men. Why? Can man answer your prayer? Then what do you want to pray in man's presence for? All that can answer your prayer is God, and God is within you. So any prayer that isn't conducted within you is a waste. It's just a waste. Man can't answer your prayer, so stop praying in public. When we pray together here, meditate, we are not praying in public. We are here of one mind, understanding that we're not meditating just because we're together. We do the same meditating when we're alone. We merely do it when we're together because it is our custom and habit to unite ourselves in the one mind, whether in public or in private. But we're not seeking anything of God, nor are we trying to show each other how much we know how to meditate. Because the mere fact that your eyes are closed doesn't indicate that you know how to meditate. Now, if you understand the Master when he tells you to do your benevolences in secret and to do your praying in secret, you will understand what I'm saying to you when I say that you must know these truths of Christhood in secret and not openly. But you must be as consistent in them as you are in prayer and benevolences. It won't do any good to say a prayer today and give away a fortune today, and then tomorrow forget your prayers and you're giving your benevolences. Prayers must be without ceasing. Benevolences must be continuous. Beholding Christhood must be conscious, continuous activity. But all of these must be secret within you, so that the Father which seeth in secret will reward you openly. Don't you see why it is that we know how our friends feel toward us? Because they don't run up to us and say, you know, I love you, or you know how much I like you, you know how much I appreciate you. None of our friends do that to us. None of our relatives do that to us. They know that we have an inner way of knowing what they really think and what they really feel. So what happens then when these so-called friends come up and praise us outwardly? Those who have vision don't believe it. They pay no attention. They don't necessarily disbelieve it, but they don't believe it. They don't pay attention to it. You can't flatter a person who really knows anything about spiritual truth but doesn't believe you. He knows right well that if you meant it, you wouldn't be saying it. There'd just be a glint in your eye that would indicate it. There'd just be something in the handshake that would indicate it, or something in your conduct that would indicate it. But when these people come up and start to, I don't know what term to use, you know as well as I do. Well, we don't believe it. And God knows more than we do. That led someone recently to say that, oh, in the infinite way, we don't ever thank God or praise God. That's not true. We thank God and we praise God, but we do it secretly. Just as we say grace when we're eating, but no one knows it, because it isn't audible or visible. It's an inner sense of recognition, of gratitude for the Father of lights. It's a secret relationship, and it's a sacred relationship. I don't want anybody to know how grateful I am to my friends, and I don't want anybody to know how grateful they are to me. It's enough if I know it, if God knows it. It isn't necessary for the public to know it. But it is necessary that we have a secret life. It is necessary that we have a sacred life. It is why many, many years ago I used the term in relation to my work, spiritual underground. I'm not looking for newspaper advertising or magazine advertising for my work. I'm not looking for outward signs drawing multitudes unto me. I'm satisfied that somewhere in consciousness that which we are doing is known, and look at us here together in this room. Without the outward evidences of work, so it must always be. We don't need to use the weapons of the world. They have only the arm of flesh. We have the Lord God Almighty. And we only have to commune with God within ourselves, and it's known, it's shouted from the housetops. If it is in accord with true spiritual being, with Christhood. Now let us never forget this. This is the beginning of a new period in our unfoldment. We are to take the word self, spelled capital S-E-L-F. We're to hold that up before us, inside of ourselves, not externally, and then realize that every act, thought, deed, wish, hope that is directed toward that self is reacting upon us. Everything is from within. We never have to voice it. Just within. Now the benevolences that are secret and sacred are witnessed by myself. And myself is God, spelled capital S-E-L-F. The prayers that I utter, the hopes, the visions, are known by myself. And that self being God answers and performs, multiplies, forgives, saves, redeems, regenerates, resurrects. So I only have to address the self and let no man on earth know what takes place. Everything that I do, I must do as unto myself. Because if I ignorantly think I'm doing it as unto you, for good or evil, I still am doing it as unto myself, but wondering why the reward or punishment. Do you see that? This is an awfully hard lesson. Only the person who can live as unto their self can rise above cosmic law into the land of grace. Remember, the cosmic law is the final step on our path to heaven. Before that, we have had material law, which governed health and supply. We've had legal law, which governed our conduct. We've had the laws of inheritance, which governed our health and character. We've had all kinds of law. We've gone through all those stages right up into college. And now we're in college with cosmic law. And cosmic law says that what ye would that another should do unto you, do ye so unto them, because as ye sow, so shall ye reap. Inasmuch as you have done it unto the least of these my brethren, ye have done it unto me. Inasmuch as ye have not done it unto the least of these my brethren, ye have not done it unto me, and you will go to eternal damnation, which means you lose your demonstration of spiritual regeneration. So we're in cosmic law, but that's only a way station. Because when we have brought ourselves into obedience to cosmic law so that we recognize only the one self, we are then under grace. The moment we have annihilated all sense of selfhood apart from God, we are under grace. No more under the law, not even the cosmic law, because now we're not doing anything to another. Now we have no other to do good unto. That's the only place where you rise above cosmic law, when you have no self to bless or to condemn. When you have no other self, you're under grace. Now, the difficult part of all this is going to be that tomorrow you're going to have to use the same language with your family and your friends and your relatives and your patients and your students as you used yesterday, but with a different meaning. And they can't know your meaning. That's the difficult thing. And the difficult thing is that many of the things you can excuse yourself for today, you won't be able to excuse yourself for tomorrow. No, it's like the Hebrew boys of 13 who get confirmed, and they're told that at 13 they become a man and they're responsible for their own sins. And so the thing they did at 12 years and 11 months, they can't do anymore at 13 years. Because before that time, it was the parents' fault. It was the parents' responsibility. It was their ignorance, and their parents had to take the blame for their fault. But the parents are absolved when the boy is 13 years of age, and he is told, you have now become a man. So it is with us. We are adults now. We have no way of excusing ourselves for our faults. Doesn't mean that we hold ourselves in constant condemnation. Oh, no. It doesn't mean that we're going to be pure as snow from now on. We'll have our faults. We'll make our mistakes. And we'll learn quickly to forgive ourselves. But knowing what's what, we'll pick ourselves up more quickly and try to see that it doesn't happen again, because we know that now there's no excuse for these failures. Well, no, never again will we live in condemnation for our own sins of omission or commission of the past. Now we go out in the sense of the Hebrew Day of Atonement. Having atoned, we're free. And as we fall down, we'll let each day be a day of atonement and start over. But not with a recognition that we can sin to the same degree as we did before or the same frequency, because we haven't the same excuse. We haven't even the excuse of ignorance. Now we know that when we say that another is good or evil, we are sinning. Now we know that when we see another person as young or old, well or sick, oh yes, don't take pride in health and wealth now. These are qualities of God, not of man. Joy in them as qualities of God, but don't be proud that you have it. The disciples made that mistake. We have power over evil through thy name. No, you haven't. Just be glad your names are written in heaven. You're spiritual beings. You're Christ. That's what to be glad about. If you're Christ, there's no evil to be used about. You're already the Son of God. You're already saved. You're already in heaven. There is no evil. So it is with this. We can't glory if the infinite way restores somebody's health. We can be thankful for their awakening, but we can't glory in that, because the truth is that health was always there anyhow. It's a quality of God. So is youth, so is vitality, so is strength, so is eternality and immortality. Can't take any bouquets for those things. They exist. Why? Because there is only one self. And health, eternality, immortality, good, these are qualities of that one self. When I recognize that, that becomes a law unto me and unto you. That's what constitutes a healer. Go into a prison, or go into a hospital, or go into a sick room, or let the sick come to you. But behold only one self, infinite in its ministration. One selfhood, infinite in being. And then you'll never have to be concerned about anybody's health or restoring them to them that which they never had and can't have anyhow, because it's a quality of God. You see, from this point on, you become as indifferent to health as you do to sickness, because you can no longer work for health any more than you can work against sickness. You can't work for supply any more than you can work against lack. At this stage, you lose your interest in ill health and health, in lack or abundance, in youth or in age, and behold Christhood. You're going to hate me for this. It's a terrible thing to try to practice. You're going to fall down so many times, as I am. But it's a glorious principle. It's a glorious principle. When you can turn your head away from health and supply and say, they don't interest me. Christhood alone is my ambition. Christhood alone is my vision. can't work for health, it can't work against sickness, can't work for supply, can't work against lack. All I can do is realize Christ, the one selfhood, is my being, infinite, eternal, harmonious, omnipresent. And then watch how the dead pick up their bed and walk, and the lame and the blind and the deaf and the dumb and the poor have the gospel preached to them too. What gospel? Oneself. Capital S-E-L-F. Oneself. Watch out. Whatever you think of another, you're thinking of that self, and that estimate will come back upon you, for good or for evil. Is that clear? Let's rest a little while. A shibboleth is a password. And the password at this stage of our experience is, thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. And the reason is this. It would appear in some cases that we need more of health. But the password is, no, thy grace is my sufficiency. Not health, thy grace is my sufficiency. It might appear in other cases that the need is supply, abundance. But that's not true. Thy grace is my sufficiency. It may appear elsewhere that sin, human sense of sin, has to be overcome. Greater purity is needed. But that isn't true. Only one thing is needful, thy grace. Now, the one way to turn away from an attempt to demonstrate health or supply or companionship or any of the things of human existence is to keep that password locked up in you, but always handy to bring out into realization, so that when a problem of health for yourself or another, problem of supply, of companionship, of home, presents itself, you can turn from it and not try to demonstrate its opposite. Don't try to demonstrate the opposite of ill health or ill fortune or ill purity. Don't try to demonstrate the opposite. Drop the pairs of opposites and demonstrate thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. You see, while you're merely trying to demonstrate the opposite end of the stick, you're trying to demonstrate something that comes and goes, the shadow of the real. The real is grace. God's grace is the reality. You can eat it, you can drink it, you can wear it, you can sleep on it, you can take vacations on it, you can travel on it, on grace. Anything else is a shadow of grace. So if you're seeking shadows, they won't support you when you get them. There were men sought the shadows of grace called money, and they had millions and they had billions, and then couldn't eat. There have been people who sought the shadows of fame and ended up with notoriety. There are people who sought shadows of grace and got them, were sorry for it. I even knew people who demonstrated companionship and were sorry for it. You see, when you demonstrate the shadow, you've got nothing after you've got it. But if you demonstrate the substance, you'll have it and all of its symbols and forms and expressions. And by having the substance, you'll have the expressions eternally and all good. Now the substance that we seek to demonstrate is grace. Why? because grace is a sufficiency. What do you want more than a sufficiency? Does anybody want more than a sufficiency? Well, grace is that sufficiency. Therefore, demonstrate grace, and you will demonstrate a sufficiency in all things: health, wealth, companionship, home, harmony, and all other things. Do you see that? Demonstrate grace. That's the substance. Then it will appear as a sufficiency in all things. Now that is why we are at the end of demonstrating the pairs of opposites. We're at the end of demonstrating over sickness. We're at the end of demonstrating over lack, or lonesomeness, or homelessness. We're through with demonstrating over anything. And we're through with demonstrating health and wealth and so forth. We are at the place now of realizing Christhood through grace. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. And if I am tempted ever to think in terms of the shadows or forms or expressions, that shibboleth, that password, will bring me back and center me in my true demonstration. Just as the word self, capital S-E-L-F. If I am ever tempted to think good or evil of anyone, that word self held in my consciousness will stop me. And I'll say, no. I'm thinking no good nor evil of anyone. I'm thinking of the self as individual being, the hope of glory. That self is perfection. It isn't good, it's perfection itself. You see? Two passwords in this degree: self and grace. Without these, we will not make the grade. With these, on which to center our attention, to hold as passwords, to keep as reminders or mementos along the way, with these we will not lose the way, but we will rise into grace. In grace we have no need to take thought what we shall eat or what we shall drink or wherewithal we shall be clothed. In grace we find ourselves in heaven with angels. That's a good thought. Thank you.